So I'm about to do a chore. I just harvested a lot of the greens off of my home tower with the baby greens extension kit. So it comes with like 2 rows of the little, someone called them high density grow ports. I thought that was really interesting. That makes sense. And then there's an extension kit. I mean, look at this gorgeous, look at this, guys. Isn't that incredible? So I just harvested all my lettuce off of there. I'm actually going to, I just got back from Canada, but we are going hiking in the forest. And this lettuce, I talk a lot that things hit their peak and then they're going to decline. And I could tell we were at the peak. I was probably at the peak when I left for Canada. So we were just coming over the top. So I wanted to get this harvested, but I want to show you what to do with lettuce after you harvest it. Whether you're growing in the soil, a raised bed, whatever you're growing in, fresh lettuce wilts very quickly. The minute you get it out of the ground or out of the tower, it's going to wilt. So we need to do a few things to prepare it so it stays nice and crispy. Now, one trick with tower lettuce, if you can't eat it all, let me show you guys how much this is. This is so much. And you'll see this on a reel, probably tonight. This is off this is off the baby greens extension kit of 1 tower. And I didn't even harvest everything because I have younger things on there. And this is not all. Oh my gosh. This as well. Like, this is crazy amounts of food. So this occurs because of how I seed things. So I talk about that a lot. That's why I get so much food. But we need to prepare this. Now, one trick you can do, if you can't eat all of this, which I can't in one sitting, you can take the rock wool, leave it on, and put them in a little baggie with some water or a container with some water. So some of these, that's what I'm gonna do. And I'll just leave them out in our living, or not our living room, our kitchen. And they will stay fresh until we need to eat them. But the others, I'm gonna show you how to prepare them so that they're crispy. So let me pull up a seat here because this is hard to do. So if your lettuce gets super wilty, don't worry about it. It's going to. Soil gardens are the same. Now, the benefit with hydroponics is we don't have slugs and pests like I do in my soil gardens. All right, let me turn you guys down this way. It's gorgeous out. It's spring. We are growing so much food again. All right, so I have some tubs. I have an IKEA bucket my friend bought me, best bucket ever. I have a plastic tub here. So what I'm going to do is pull out the ones that I'm going to keep whole and soak in water. And I'll go through, you know, you're always going to have some leaves that didn't get enough sun, so you clean those off. But there's a few of these, look at this gorgeous, that I want to keep whole. And then most of them, because we will eat a lot of lettuce, and I'll share this with some friends. I'm going to take this. This one doesn't have any bad leaves. And I'm going to cut it and drop it right into my water. It's lukewarm. It's not super cold. I throw my rock wool into my permaculture garden, which is right behind you guys. It's a woven lava rock, so it just adds grit. It's actually really good for worms. I feed it to my worms. I just don't have worms going right now. And I don't have chickens right now. I also feed it to my chickens. They got murdered. But it's okay because I actually want to, my chicken coop is super ugly and not real functional. I'm going to move it behind this building and we're going to incubate some silkies and some frizzles. I do that. I kind of go like really productive farm chickeny, and then I'll switch to something a little more like a pet that's fun to have. So I'm ready for some frizzles. If you've never seen a frizzle, Google it. And silkies, they're so fun to have. They're just really, really cute. And they'll make babies and sit on their eggs. So all we're gonna do is take, this is one rock wool that grew in a baby greens extension kit. One grow port. Look at all that lettuce. And it's because of how I seed them. If you're not familiar with my seeding methods, there's a link in my bio to all my books. And I talk about it there. I talk about it on my YouTube. You can scroll back through some of my reels and see it there. But it's how I seed these Makes all the difference how much food we get. So I'm just cutting them right into my bucket of water, pulling out any leaves I don't like the looks of. And then the rest we compost right into the permaculture garden, which is behind you guys. I also pulled out my arugula because I noticed it was going to start going to flower. I'm headed to the forest to go backpacking, and I'm actually going to take this as my meal. All the arugula will be the food I bring. So I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to put this one in a different tub. You don't have to do it with arugula as much. Arugula doesn't wilt like lettuce will. But the lettuce, you can see it's already wilting. That's okay. It's just normal. It'll perk back up. So what I do is just continue this. And then when I get enough in there, I'm just gonna dunk them. Mix everything around. The cool thing is the not so pretty ones, like any leaves, like this little piece here, they float to the top. So this is where I'll clean out any lettuce that's not perfect. Now, there's different standards if you are selling this lettuce, obviously. But you can see like how much you can grow. If you wanted to sell, like have a little CSA, I definitely have enough towers for that. I prefer that we just eat it, give it away to friends. But when I'm staying on top of my lettuce, this is what it looks like. Huge harvest. They are just absolutely incredible. So this one I'm going to leave whole. I'm going to leave 5, 2, I'm going to leave 4 big bundles with the roots on and just let those sit in a basin of water. I have another gigantic arugula here. And if you want to know how to seed these, I know I've made reels on it. I'm working on my membership hub, and I made a free course in there for seed starting, and I show how to do this. Because if you can do this, you can get so much food so fast, and that is the key. Don't plant one seed if you want to grow lettuce. You can, like I'll grow heads of lettuce up here that are gigantic, but I have space to do that. A whole head of lettuce takes a little bit longer. So if you heavily seed them, especially if you only have one tower, especially if you're growing indoors, then you get all of this amazing abundance just a lot faster. Sorry, I was looking something on my phone, which is just great because I get all this food. So we're going to keep doing this, just cutting, soaking. I'm going to soak these for probably 20 minutes. And then I'm going to spin them in a salad spinner. And you don't need to buy a salad spinner. You can find them at the thrift shops. That's where I get all of mine. They are always there. It's just one of those things people buy and for whatever reason don't use. So I have a few of them, and I will spin this really good a couple of times, get all the moisture out. And then I put them on, not wrap, on a tea towel. And then I have a plastic basin in my fridge that has a flip up lid, and I will store them in that. It's specifically for lettuce, but you can keep them in the spinning bowl. You can put them in a plastic bag if you want, but the key is to put them in the towel, a tea towel. A little bit of the moisture from the lettuce will stay in that tea towel, and then that just keeps them super crisp. And if it's cool out like it is tonight, it's really cold still here. Not cold, it's cool here. I don't put them in the fridge. I just do that, put them in a tea towel, lightly fold it on itself, and I will store them in the back on our porch. And they'll stay there until we eat them. Okay, so these were smaller, and that happens when you're growing in the Baby Greens Extension Kit. You'll have some that just don't have enough space to become gigantic. And that's okay. What I try to do in that case is move things around. So if I harvest a big lettuce off the top, because things grow bigger at the top, and I see there's a smaller bundle of lettuce or a smaller plant down here, I'll move it to the top. And so let it finish off. Don't be afraid to move your food. I move it all the time. It'll finish off on the top row, which will make it just twice as big. So what I'm doing, if you just popped on, is I harvested gigantic gigantic amounts of lettuce. You'll see that reel probably tonight of this harvest, and I am just preparing it to go inside. And it's so nice out, and this can get really messy in the kitchen, so I do it out here. My permaculture landscape is right behind you guys, so I can just throw all my scraps in there. And we're soaking. I'm lightly turning. The reason I turn and shake is because I want to get any lettuce that's not pretty, like this little piece right here. Those will float if you can get them to separate from the lettuce. So it's just a way to kind of clean out any debris. There's a couple of like roots that got in here. There's some lettuce, or not lettuce, like little pieces of the trees around here. Here's one right here. Oh, just like fell from the seeds in the trees. Oh, there's a ladybug. So we're separating. This is how you get crispy lettuce. That's a part of a tree right there. We're gonna let them sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. Put them in a salad spinner, let them drain. Put them in a salad spinner, spin them until there's no water coming off. And then I'm gonna lay everything on a tea towel. I forgot to mention this a minute ago. I do let them air dry on the tea towel for a little bit. And then I wrap them up lightly by folding, and I have a bin in my fridge, or they go on our back porch if it's cold enough. But the goal is you want a little bit of moisture on whatever you're putting them in, like the tea towel. That's the purpose of it, is to keep them with just a little bit of moisture so they stay crisp. And you want them to be dry so they don't get soggy. But we want to rehydrate them, because when you grow food, whether it's in a tower or in the soil, if you've ever harvested lettuce, it will wilt right away. But I was also mentioning earlier that with hydroponics, we don't have to do that. If you don't want to eat this, or if you want to give it to somebody, then take the roots and the rock wool and put this in a plastic bag with some water, like in the corner. So we don't want the water on our leaves. I clean off any of these not so pretty leaves before I give it to somebody. And that's a great way to keep it fresh. And it will stay just as crisp as it was on the tower, because it's still getting water from the roots. And then you can give these giant bundles of lettuce as a gift, which, I mean, who wouldn't want that? I want that. I'm about to eat one of these. Probably gonna eat 2 of those bundles for dinner. So a few of them, I'm doing that. The rest we're soaking. A couple more here. I also did this with my arugula. This was all grown on the baby greens extension. Not even, maybe half of it. So not even all of the grow ports grew this much food. If you go back to the beginning of this video, it's crazy how much lettuce I just got off this tower. And I have starch ready to go. I always have starch ready to go to replace what I harvest, so that we have more lettuce. So there's still, right here, there's some that'll be ready in a few days. So when we run out of this and we're out of food to eat, I can come get more. And then I've got some on the back that are a little bit smaller, and I've got new seedlings that'll go in. So we're just rotating, and that's how you get an enormous amount of food off of a tower. This is the home unit. This is our smallest unit. And that's what makes it work. It's awesome. The interval planting is the key. I had someone reach out and say, why does your tower, your food look so much bigger than mine? And it's the way I seed. So if you're not familiar with how I seed, I definitely have resources for that in my past videos that you can go watch. But it's because I seed things specifically to grow fast, to grow big, and I stay on top of seeds. I'm planting seeds every 2 weeks. I'm planting 1/4 the amount of grow ports I have in seeds every 2 weeks. We're pulling out the whole plant, and we're eating it all, and then we start over. So this is the last one I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pick all these random bits off the floor. And the rest, I'm gonna keep the roots on and store them for the future. Actually, I'm going hiking, backpacking. So I think I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna put these in the roots in something to stay protected and give these away or save them until I get back. the reason I needed to harvest these, there is a point when you want to take your food off the tower. Food reaches its peak. And once it goes past that peak, it can start to decline really quickly. And I actually lost one of these lettuce when I was in Canada. It happened. It got too heavy. It reached its peak and then it broke. And so I lost that whole gorgeous head. It was a red one too, which is my favorite. So you want to harvest your food. You want to turn over your food, have new seedlings. I'm going to put new seedlings in here in a moment. So we've got more food growing. There's no pause on these. We do this year round, indoors and out. There is no need to ever buy lettuce at the grocery store. For one, it's gross. Lettuce at the grocery store has to be treated in order to keep it crisp and keep it fresh. They have to put things on it so it's soaked a lot of times in a chemical, a safe organic chemical, to make it crispy. So these are the ones I'm going to put the roots in some water and just let them stay as they are, because they're still super crispy right now. As long as those roots are sucking in water, they're good to go. That'll last me a few days, and we won't lose any of the nutrients that way because we're keeping them alive. It's when these are going to lose their nutrients. I've got about 3 days with the nutrients at their peak. So that's when we want to eat them. So this is about a 3-day supply. How I get my family to eat this many, and then I've got my arugula down here. I'm going to take this on my camping trip. I'm going to make a big Asian salad. So I'll eat all of that on my hiking trip. So I make a special salad that I know my husband likes. And it's a vegan Caesar from Oshi Glows. And if I just prepare that kind of stuff, when he comes home, he scarfs it down. And that's the key with the towers and growing food. Like, honestly, I'm really tired from my trip. And if I didn't have this food that needed to be harvested, I would probably eat something not super healthy tonight. But when I saw all this lettuce, it forces me to eat this because I don't want to waste any of this food. So I'm going to be making a gigantic salad. And I really like growing my own food, whether it's permaculture, my mushrooms, whatever it is, for that reason. Because if it's there, we eat it. And the more you eat of it, I was thinking about this the other day, because sometimes people tell me they don't like the taste of things. A lot of it's just exposure and time. Eggplant's one that I get a lot. People say they don't like the taste of it. What was it that I was thinking about the other day I didn't like the taste of that now I love? It's something I grew on ground cherries. Ground cherries grow amazing. They are in the pepper family. They're kind of like a tomatillo, but small. And to me, they taste like a pineapple and a pepper had a baby. And they grow prolific. Like, if you can grow those, if you have little children, it's such an incredible plant because you could just snack on them all day long. Really, really good. But when I first grew those, I was like, I'm not going to do this again. There were so many. They fall. You eat them once they fall on the ground. So they would be all over the ground, and I would come harvest them. And I just didn't love the flavor because it was a new food to me. And the other day I planted the seeds and I was craving them. And I was thinking how I'm going to make these salads, like all the flavors, the cilantro and different things were coming together in my brain. And just mouth-watering ideas of these ground cherries. And it's just because of growing them. Like, I thought they were gross and didn't like them for a while. So give yourself time. If you don't like food, you will like it. I see some questions coming in. How do you protect your starts from breaking or bending as you separate them from each other? You've been tangled. Yeah, mine are tangled up. That's normal. When I pulled them out, they were all tangled. I just kind of shake them and pull them apart. My starts, let me grab. I don't think I have any. I don't have any that are super tangled right now. But I'll just do that. And they come apart. If you break some roots, it doesn't matter. If you break some of the tops, it doesn't matter. Because we have so many. Yeah. So I just pull them apart like that. I have had some that are super tangled and I just wrangle them out. And it's okay if you lose a few. Especially if you're following my heavy seeding methods. because we have a few to spare for sure with that. I'm going to pull you closer so I can read the questions. You have 3 tower garden lights. 2 of them produce a bright white light and the other has a little more of a green tint to the light. I would call customer service. My lights all look the same. I don't notice any difference in the light. I think there might be something wrong with one of your bulbs. They're full spectrum lights, so maybe there's a bulb out in there. I would call customer service. They're really good about helping with that if you think there's something wrong with one of the lights. I'm gonna scroll. So what I'm doing is I did this huge harvest and I am preparing the lettuce so that it's crispy. I also get the question sometimes, why isn't my lettuce crispy? For one, you got to prepare it. If you harvest it and take it in, it's going to look wilted and it won't be appetizing within 30 minutes. That's whether you're growing in the soil or wherever you're growing. Lettuce has to be prepared in a certain way to rehydrate so that it's delicious. And so that's what I'm doing. It's in this bucket with lukewarm water and we're rehydrating. And you can be rough with it. It'll look like it's going to be destroyed, but it won't. It's just rehydrating. Going to stay like this for maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. You don't want to go too long because it'll overhydrate. And then I'm going to spin it really well in little batches with a salad spinner. And then I'm going to lay it out on a towel, a tea towel, let it dry, air dry a little bit, and then kind of fold it in and I keep it in a cool place. Fridge, or for us, it's our porches because they are the temperature of a fridge right now. And it stays super crisp that way. I just had to, but people will ask me that. There's also different types of lettuce. So this is leaf lettuce. This is not like eating iceberg. It's softer. I like to use these as wraps. I'm actually going to make a few wraps tonight with them. This is a softer lettuce. It's like if you want to make a veggie burger or have lettuce with your sandwich, this is the kind of lettuce you're going for. If you want iceberg lettuce or really, really crispy lettuce, you can grow Crispini is a good variety. You can heavily seed them. It just has a thicker stem, and so you get more crunch to it. Iceberg has a whole head. I do grow those. They just tend to stay small, whether I grow them in the soil or not. I don't know how they get them to be like those commercial ones at the store. I've never been able to figure it out. I also grow romaine, but romaine can take a really long time. So one head of romaine can take like 90 days. Well, that's kind of ridiculous. We want food faster, in my opinion. So what I'll do is I'll put 3 baby romaine seeds in one grow port. They grow in about 45 days. And that's the equivalent, probably even more, like 1.5 romaines if you do 3. And so you're going to get that dense, crispy crunch because the baby romaine is full grown. And it's going to have that core to it that people like in romaine lettuce. But we can get it faster. So that's a trick. So look at the lettuce. Leaf lettuces are soft. Some lettuces are really soft. And those aren't always soft when they're mature. So as baby greens, they can be super soft, like a butter lettuce or a bib lettuce. I have some bib lettuce growing right now. As baby greens, a bib lettuce can just be super droopy and, I don't know, they look like langy kids, you know, when they're in that awkward phase and everything's a little bit too big for their body. And then they fill out and turn into gorgeous heads of lettuce. So some things don't do as well as baby greens. I buy my baby greens, I'll buy the sprouting seeds as a gourmet blend. And that just gives you a wide variety. Forget what variety of lettuce this was. Trying to think. It's a leaf lettuce. I think this is Samson. Black-seeded Samson, I think. I like it. You can see here, it is crispy. Like, listen. That's got crisp. The leaves are great for wraps. It's great. It looks like that classic, like, hamburger lettuce. And then you do get these nice stalks, which that's where your crunch is coming from. Most people are just used to that, like, crunchy part of the iceberg and, or the romaine and stuff. So these give you a nice bib. You just gotta let them get big enough. If they're super tiny, they actually don't have this established part, and they can be a little leggy, soggy too. So delicious. Let me see if you guys have any questions. We have a bell pepper seed that I can see the white sprout of in the rock wool. Yeah, peppers take a long time. It's been a few weeks and it looks the same. Might be flipped upside down. If you're seeing, I've had that happen before. I have one right now. See if you can take a toothpick and mess with it a little bit, because I'm wondering if the root isn't coming out, and that can happen in rock wool because they're so wet. If it didn't seed upside down and it's going the wrong way. So just flip it and see what you can find. Because a few weeks, they do take a while, but it should be doing something. If it shouldn't just stay as the root. Let me bring you guys closer. I faced myself right to the sun. Okay. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to finish turning these. If you want to see this harvest as it originally was, it was, you'll see the reel. It was so incredible. This is the arugula. The secret here is properly seeding, heavily seeding, starting your seeds often. So I harvested half of what's in this baby greens extension kit up here. Probably half. We can go take a tour. All right, let me flip you around. Okay, and yeah, your tower will be a little messy. So here's a good example of something that happened. Look at how tiny and sad this was, because it was getting shaded by all that gigantic lettuce. Now this will come back. This is fine. It will have time. I put it in a small too. See how tiny those are? I shouldn't have put those in that small. I was probably just leaving town and desperate. Here's a bundle. This one will be ready in a couple of weeks. We've got some cilantro going. These are the next round. So in a couple of weeks, a couple of days. In a couple of days, these are the food we'll be eating to replace all of this. And then we have new starts ready to go in. And so that's the goal, is that you're always turning things around. This is cilantro. Here's some baby romaine. We have a little sad leaf. This is turnip. So I may eventually move that. We'll see. This is some more starts that were just getting smothered by the lettuce because it was so big. So now this has room to grow. So this will be ready after this. Those will be ready after that. So we're just going along. This one's a little small still. Look at this. Isn't that incredible? That's a purple lady. These are my favorite. I absolutely love the purple lady. They grow so good on the top. My favorite spot. So lots of babies over here. And this is what I mean by lettuce. When they're too little, they don't look great. Like, look how leggy and weird this is. Now, this does have a little bit of trauma because it was hidden behind all that big lettuce. But it's dangly. We don't want that. But this is going to fill out now that it has proper space. And so when I do big harvests like this, I'll come through and clean these neglected ones up. And then they get to be the shining star for the next round. And we just keep going. This is Emiko cabbage. If you want, you can spray your tower at this point too. Sometimes I'll just blast it with the hose, but it's actually cold right now, so I don't want to do that. But these look amazing. All these little bundles. Cilantro. Over here's the celery tower. We have lots of starts going. These are the ground cherries. If you haven't grown ground cherries, they're fun. They take a minute to get used to. The strawberries are still droopy, but they're okay. They're blooming. It's just going to take them a while to kind of get over the trauma of being ripped out of the ground and moved. Over here, there's just tons of things. This is the iceberg. I mentioned the crispini. That's a crisp. This is a heavily seeded crispini right here. So you're getting more of these stems. So when you chop those really fine, you can almost get like that taco shredded lettuce feel with this brand. I really like this crispini. And it's just gorgeous. And when you heavily seed, you're going to get, bad leaves like this, even when you don't heavily seed. there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the leaves didn't get what they needed, and we clean them out. Totally normal. Parsley. Beets are doing great. Look at this gigantic beet. I had a beet salad in Canada, and I'm going to recreate it when I get back. We're about to go to the mountains, or go hiking, backpacking, 14 miles. That's kohlrabi. Turnips. This is one seed. See the difference? No, it's not. There's one over here, and it looks like there's 2, 3. But if you just had one, that's so much smaller. Now it still has time to grow. This was a bundle I think I did with the Tower Garden seeds. I'm running some experiments right now. I'll show you guys that when it's done. This is my Swiss chard. It needs to come out. Got lots started, and it's just, I've eaten off of it so much that, look, it wants to go to, when it looks like that, it's trying to make a flower. So we'll finish juicing that. Squash. This is zucchini. This is broccoli. Let's see. We're going to get broccoli soon. Over here we have tomatoes. Tomatoes are best harvested in the heat of the day. Look at this kohlrabi. So right here, look at all these. So if I want to harvest these, I can harvest them now for dinner, obviously. But if I can come out right after, like, the hottest part of the day, at 5, once the sun goes down, but they've been out in that heat all day, they taste so incredible. Does something to the sugars. Look at this kohlrabi. That thing is huge. And then behind it is a small one, so I can harvest this big one and let the small one continue to grow. Just the food abundance is so cool. All right, that's it on these. There's lots of squash, eggplant, peppers. It's all coming along. And the permaculture landscape, the blueberries are coming, the berries, the mulberries, the apple trees blooming. All of that's medicine and herbs. So I'll be showing that on a YouTube I'm going to film tomorrow. So much food in here. What a gorgeous evening. Thanks for joining me, guys. Will this live be available to watch as a replay? Yes, it will. I'll keep it on my channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on this gorgeous evening. Look at this harvest. I'm going to go dry, spin this. I think I always say that word wrong. Harvest. I always call it harvest. I don't know what is right, but the lettuce is soaking to get crispy. Have a beautiful night, guys.